One of the things that we study at the American Culture and Faith Institute is the faith of America and how it relates to American culture. I'm George Barn. I'm the executive director of the American Culture and Faith Institute. I want to talk to you today about a study that we recently completed about the worldview of Americans. Now, when we talk about a worldview, essentially what we're talking about is the mental framework that people have to help them understand and respond to reality. Everybody has a worldview, but the reason that we study this is because not everybody has the same worldview. In the course of the most recent research we were doing, we undertook a very unique study to try to figure out what percentage of Americans has a biblical worldview. Now, when we talk about a biblical worldview, what we're referring to is whether or not a person's mental filter, the way that they try to understand and interpret and respond to the world, is based upon biblical principles. You may hear this whole idea of doing a study about whether or not someone has a biblical worldview and think, oh my gosh, it's a major theology test. And it really isn't. All we were studying were basic biblical principles and concepts. We were looking at things like whether or not people believe the Bible is reliable, whether or not they think God is the creator of the universe, whether or not they think people evolved or whether God created them, whether they think Jesus lived a sinless life while he was on earth, what they believe about Satan. Is he real or is he just a symbol of evil? What do they think about the Holy Spirit? Does the Holy Spirit exist? Or is the Holy Spirit just a symbol of God's power and purity? These were the kinds of things we were looking at. These aren't brain twisters. This is basic biblical knowledge, the kind of knowledge that you get in Sunday school when you're a child. So as we did this study, we were trying to understand what percentage of American adults has a biblical worldview. In order to do that, we looked at 40 different questions, 20 about beliefs, 20 about behaviors. We wanted to measure both beliefs and behaviors because we know that essentially people do what they really believe. And so we wanted to know what people say they believe, but we also wanted to see if their behavior is in sync with those beliefs. And so when we looked at these 40 kinds of questions, what we discovered is that currently only 10% of American adults have a biblical worldview. That's just 1 out of 10 people who are 18 or older. And you may wonder why this matters. Well, it matters because your worldview is what determines your decisions, your important choices in life. It determines your values. It shapes your character. It has so much to do with the kinds of major life decisions that you make. And what we're discovering is that 9 out of 10 Americans determine their values, their character, their major life choices, their lifestyle, based on things other than the Bible. That's something that we need to take into account as we try to figure out how we can transform America's culture for the future.